Warhammer Universe, Becoming a Galactic Lord by Raising Phantom Beasts. Introduction. www.zhaozuiyuan.com. A soul from another world travels to Warhammer Universe, and the golden finger he receives is Phantom Beasts. Trailer information. What kind of ghost is this? Is it farming and nurturing? Enzo opened it with a puzzled expression, only to find that it was completely opposite to what he had thought. He enjoys the infinite resources of a complete world alone, and there are endless beasts for him to use. https://www.zhaozuiyuan.com. Chapter 1: The Lost Lamb of the Other World. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Ads by Google equals window. Ads by Google. Push, hey. Hey. You kid wouldn't have been killed like this, would you? Some surprised voices echoed from the ceiling. The room was empty, and many things had already been sold out by the owner here. The man with a face full of flesh furrowed his brow, and his mechanical prosthetic eyes glared at his subordinates who were still laughing around. Suddenly, everyone closed their mouths and a person stepped out to test the breath of the young man lying on the ground with a relatively handsome face. Not dead. Boss Kashu, the person is not dead yet. Why shout so loudly? I can tell. Kashi kicked this silly guy away with one kick. His mechanical prosthetic eyes were not just a decoration, and what lay in front of him was indeed a living person, but Cassio frowned somewhat puzzled. Just a few seconds ago, he should have been a dead person. Where is this, me? A murmur with Chinese pronunciation came from the ground, and no one knew what he was muttering. Upon hearing the noise around him, Zhong Mo's consciousness slowly revived within his body, and the first thing he felt was unbearable intense pain. The world in front of me is full of chaotic snowflakes and murky darkness, with only the pain on my body being relatively clear. Zhong Moqiang stood up, suddenly feeling dizzy like the collapse of the world, almost tearing his mind apart with inexplicable murmurs, causing him to collapse to the ground again and vomit wildly. The light in Kashiwagi's mechanical eyes flickered coldly for a few moments. He didn't dwell on whether this useless kid was really resurrected from death, but coldly issued the ultimatum. Enzo Einhold, in 3 days' time, if you don't pay enough, even if you really die, everything you have left will be used to pay off your debts, including your sister. After speaking, he waved his hand and led the people away. Sister, when will I have a sister? Hiss. It seems like I have a sister. In a daze, Zhong Yimo hesitated for a moment and immediately fell into dizziness and murmuring again. Half an hour later, Zhong Yimo. No, it should be Enzo Einhold now. Awkwardly got up, stumbled to the bathroom with a bitter smile, and numbly poured cold water on his face. Under the stimulation of the rusty cold water, it feels like being in a cold and lifeless universe, but there are some flickering light spots that come to mind. Broken empires, endless wars, countless alien races, insane pagans, corrupt imperial ruling classes, mysterious subspaces, and subspace evil gods intending to destroy the physical universe, call out. Staring intently at the western face on the mirror that didn't belong to him for a long time, he finally accepted the reality he had traveled through. What's this called? He let out a low curse of incompetence and anger, and immediately began to think about what to do next. This is not because of how strong he is, nor because of how much talent he has, but because this is a world that can die at any time. He, Enzo Einhold, is now an ordinary person living in the world of Warhammer, struggling in the galaxy of Hell. The achievements of the father generation enabled their family to live a relatively decent life in the central star domain of the Empire, the Sun domain. Although located on the remote edge of the planet called Kroso, the central city of Peck City. Although still burdened with strict taxes, occasional war taxes, and the troubles of those old men, Enzo felt enough. He has parents, a lovely sister, and even a delicious meal during holidays. His grades are good, and there is even hope that he can join the Imperial Star Army. There is also hope that he can achieve the same feat as his father and take his family to a better planet. But now, everything is gone. He lowered his head and chuckled lightly, then froze in place, remained silent for a while, and returned to his desk again, picking up the scattered paper. For a long time, he stopped and looked at the list of goods in his hand. There's actually nothing, just 200 yards of fabric. But now, I can't even make a yard of fabric. Enzo gave a bitter smile, his heart gradually turning cold. In the original owner's memory, after the death of their parents, in order to repay their external debt, the factory was forced to sell most of the machinery. However, if that were the only case, the order could still be completed. After sorting through his memory, he knew the reason behind the incident. The inability to produce goods and even causing fatal harm to the original owner is a simple but unavoidable reason: there are no raw materials. Enzo's eyes flickered with a brilliant light. In the original owner's memory, the supplier's explanation for this was due to the war affecting the transportation route. And the raw materials stockpiled by suppliers and produced on the planet are all very coincidentally sold out in the near future. Business merger? Not at all. The original owner inherited this factory, but it's not very large. Is it? An enemy? Enzo's eyebrows furrowed as he carefully recalled every detail from the original owner's memory, but it was hard to imagine what kind of power a retired military family could form enemies with. Forget it, the focus now is on solving the problem of raw materials. Quickly produce those 200 yards of fabric, otherwise. He murmured silently in his heart, and finally let out a sigh. I'm really in danger. But, as an ordinary person, Jean-Nemo was just a useless college student on Earth and didn't have any amazing skills. How could he break through? Don't they all come with a system when traveling? What about mine? Ding. System activated. DD. Task. Process 200 yards of fabric. D. Foreshadowing information. The Capet family has recently acquired a lot of cotton. D. Foreshadowing information. Many people have been missing in Peck recently. D. Foreshadowing information. A subspace storm is brewing near the planet Croso and its star domain. D. Map preparation is underway. 3. 2. 1. The Phantom Beast continent has been activated. Before he finished roast, the next second, accompanied by the prompt sound, he was stunned by a familiar panel similar to a game that suddenly appeared in front of him. Phantom Beast Space. What is this? With a hint of doubt, he approached Shuyuan www.zhaoshuyuan.com and carefully read the introduction provided by the system. His originally pale skin gradually turned red, and a sunny and cheerful smile slowly crawled onto his face. Good guy. Isn't this the game I've been playing for 60 hours in 3 days? Phantom Palu. Except for the name of the Phantom Beast, which is somewhat different, the rest are almost indistinguishable. A vast world with hundreds of different types of mythical beasts distributed, different regions with infinite resources, plains, forests, volcanoes, snow plains and various terrains, as well as various black technology trees and powerful boss-level mythical beasts. Enzo's eyes sparkled with brilliance, and he couldn't help but want to howl in the sky. Phantom beasts are a good thing, good employees, good soldiers. Killing dropped resources can create resources while alive. Never complain, never picky about food, never despise poor living, and work hard. Always obeying the orders of the master is much better than some genetic pathogens, interstellar warriors, and imperial soldiers who shout loyalty every day but actually turn their heads and throw themselves into the embrace of the subspace evil gods. Moreover, fighting is not deadly. As long as the master allows us to charge forward, we will fight to death, even more fiercely than those green skins who only know how to fight. Even death can make the final contribution to the master, much stronger than the group of spirits who destroyed the clan and even created an evil god. Moreover, what's even stronger about this system is that resources from both the Phantom Beasts and the Phantom Beast continent can be used in the real world. This is equivalent to saying that Enzo has a world that can produce unlimited resources and population. Thinking about it, Enzo's eyes became brighter and brighter. He quickly walked to the door, locked it, and sat down on the ground without worrying about picking a place. Jia jia jia. Dear little phantom beasts, I'm here. Chapter 2. The Traverse who doesn't want to be a capitalist is not a good illusionary beast trainer. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Ads by Google equals window. Ads by Google. Push, ding, you have entered the Phantom Beast continent. Please remember the following rules. Rule 1. The beasts of the Phantom world are all our partners, please treat them kindly. Rule 2. Do not intentionally harm or enslave Phantom beasts. Rule N. Do not consume Phantom beasts. Enzo automatically blocked these so-called rules, confirmed that he had teleported here along with his body, and walked out of the familiar birthplace cave. Ding, welcome to the initial terrace. The familiar system prompts the sound, and the warm sun illuminates the world. So, a vibrant and prosperous world with blue sky and white clouds, mountains, forests, plains, was presented to him. Compared to the purgatory like Milky Way in Warhammer world, this place is simply heaven. He patted the classic adventurer costume on his body, shook his backpack behind him, and Enzo nodded with a smile. Taking a few steps forward, Enzo casually lit up the teleportation beacon on the initial platform. Just as Enzo was about to pick up some branches and stones to open up land, a system prompt suddenly sounded in his ear. Ding, the host enters the Phantom Beast continent for the first time and receives the Novice Gift Pack. Enzo was momentarily taken aback, then casually opened the Beginner Gift Pack and a series of system prompts rang in his ear. Ding, obtained wood X 50 kilograms, stored in backpack. Ding, obtained stone X 80 kilograms, stored in backpack. Ding. Obtain 10 kilograms of Phantom Beast ore, which has been stored in your backpack. Ding, obtained weapon inferior left wheel X1, stored in backpack. Ding, obtained the weapon poor quality one-handed sword X1, which has been stored in the backpack. Ding, obtained 20 rounds of inferior ammunition, which have been stored in the backpack. Ding, obtained 10 basic beast balls, which have been stored in the backpack. Great, with these things, I don't have to work hard to cultivate land. Just catch the Phantom Beasts and work for me. But before he could be too happy, he found himself as heavy as carrying a mountain, almost unable to move a step. Due to his experience, he quickly realized and immediately clicked on the system interface. Unexpectedly, he saw the red font on his weight, which meant that his weight had far exceeded the limit. Enzo smiled wryly and shook his head, then glanced again, only to find that his other statistics were not high. Even lower than ordinary people in his eyes, and his level was only 1 level. Maybe there's a chance to upgrade in the future. Otherwise, what if I encounter more powerful creatures in the future? Is it difficult for me to undergo genetic modification? Enzo roast, immediately opened the system workbench and photographed a temporary base in place. Subsequently, a basic workbench was created. His current level can only unlock this. Alright, it's time to catch some Phantom Beasts to work. Enzo nodded and looked around, quickly discovering the target. About 20 meters away from oneself, a batch of low-level Phantom Beasts have already been spawned. A pink timid kitten with small steps, a pink silly chicken shaking its head in the sun, and his most important goal this time is to have a silly and cute face, like a ball of cotton. Enzo held the inferior left wheel and slowly approached, but less than 10 meters closer, the group of Phantom Beasts had already discovered him. Bubbles with yellow exclamation marks emerged from the cute heads of Phantom Beasts, and a group of Phantom Beasts, like frightened birds, stepped out of their calves and ran away from Enzo. Bang 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 bang, Enzo quickly stood up and, with the assistance of the system, quickly pulled the trigger. Although it didn't cause any harm, it's enough to bring up hatred. Seeing the exclamation marks on the heads of 4 or 5 phantom beasts turn red, Enzo's expression relaxed slightly, breathed a sigh of relief, and then drew his one-handed sword from behind. Next, as long as you hit them to the point of remaining health, you can try capturing them with the phantom beast ball. Just as he was thinking about it, a timid cat was already waving its meow fist and rushing towards him. Enzo rolled and dodged towards the side with a hint of embarrassment. Immediately, he quickly got up and waved his one-handed sword, cutting off the timid cat's health, and the sound of breaking through the air came in his ear. Stupid chicken skill. Air bomb. Enzo just reacted, but his body didn't keep up and he could only get a firm blow. Blood flowed from the corner of his mouth, and his blood bar decreased by about 10 points. Fortunately, I only lost health and didn't experience any negative injuries in reality. Moreover, my total health is 150 points, so solving these guys should be enough. Enzo took a breath and took a few steps to the side, easily avoiding the 2 Cotton Yu's collision skills, and taking advantage of their dizziness and negative state after their skills, he fiercely repaired a few wounds. Seeing that Mienyo's health was running low, Enzo seized the opportunity when no other phantom beasts had attacked him and threw a phantom beast ball towards Mienyo. Ping ping, twice, 2 cotton balls were collected into the phantom beast ball. The phantom beast ball trembled slightly in the air, surrounded by a progress bar displaying the capture probability. 15%. 32%. 55%. 99%. 100%. I don't know if it's a novice protection period, but Enzo successfully caught 2 cotton yo-yo at once. His face lit up with joy, as he dodged the attack of the timid kitten and leaped backwards, pulling out the cotton-filled phantom ball and throwing it in the air. Come out. Cotton yo-yo. A glimmer of light flickered, and although his health was not satisfied, Cotton, who was still incredibly brave, fell to the ground and charged towards other phantom beasts with a strange cry. 5 minutes later, Enzo successfully captured all 5 phantom beasts. This made him marvel at how he had been a non-chieftain for over 20 years, but after being reborn, he unexpectedly had a good fortune. Ding! Congratulations to the host for capturing the phantom beast for the first time. Rewards include 50 kilograms of wood, 50 kilograms of stone, 30 kilograms of phantom beast mine, 20 kilograms of iron ore, and 20 rounds of inferior ammunition. The rewards have been stored in the base warehouse. Ding! The host has completed the first exploration of the Phantom Beast continent, indicating that the information function has been activated. Indicative information. There is a large iron mine near the giant beast forest. Prophecy message. 3 days later, near the fortress ruins, there will be a dragon-type phantom beast passing by. Prophecy message. In 3 days, the base will encounter a wave of small beasts. Enzo was pleasantly surprised, but this system is quite conscientious. It not only provides rewards, but also many warning messages and prompts. Dragon-type phantom beast. It should be a small boss, right? The powerful phantom beast refreshes irregularly. Then I have to seize this opportunity. A powerful phantom beast not only has stronger combat power, but also stronger workability, making it a gold medal tool man. If you can catch that dragon-type phantom beast, there's no need to be afraid of the small beast tide. Enzo thought for a moment and quickly returned to the base. There were exactly 5 magic beasts that could be assigned to the base at the current level. Therefore, he arranged for the 2 non-generic magic beasts he caught, the timid cats, the silly chicken, and the cotton yo-yo to be on duty. Coincidentally, there was a small mining pile and several trees near the temporary base. The brave little cat, a skilled employee with skills in manual work, logging, mining, and gathering, immediately began working. The dull chicken with the ability to move and graze, as well as the cotton yo-yo with the ability to do manual work, were busy moving wood, stones, and other items into the boxes Enzo had prepared before. Okay. The Phantom Factory has officially started. My dear friends, we have taken a big step towards ruling the Milky Way. Enzo wiped the sweat off his head and didn't dare to rest. He opened the system panel and looked at the experience he had just gained from catching the Phantom Beast, which had elevated him to LV3. In addition, he also gained some technology points, which allowed him to point out some necessary technologies. Although Enzo did not gain points to enhance his abilities and his various values did not improve due to upgrades, he was not too conflicted. After all, the most important thing for myself now is to make the goods that those people want and ensure that I can survive. He clicked on several necessary technologies now, such as ranches and food boxes, and then closed the system panel, quickly building these things. With these things, there's no need to be afraid that the phantom beasts will starve to death, and Cotton Yu and Stupid Chicken can also graze and produce. This is the most important because the material used by Cotton Yu to graze and produce on the ranch is what he needs to use to make cloth to save his life. Cotton. Ha. After resting in place for a while, Enzo yawned. Today's battle made him a bit tired, so he decided to cancel his original exploration plan and go back to sleep. The time flow of the phantom world is the same as reality. I've been here for half a day and it's probably already night outside. That little girl, Karina, should also be anxious. He suddenly remembered that he had a younger sister, so he quickly called out the system and returned to his room. Dong dong dong. Enzo. Enzo. You bastard went gambling again. A girl with anger sounded outside the door, accompanied by a fierce knock. Enzo climbed up and shouted loudly. Yes, yes. Opening the door, with blonde hair and blue eyes, although only 15 years old, she was already standing tall and graceful. The beautiful and capable Karina was looking at her with an angry expression on her face. Do you know that batch of goods won't be delivered in 3 days, and we really don't have anything left? And we don't even have the materials now, so at this time, you're still gambling. Do you deserve the factory left by your father for you? Over the years, you've gambled and lost everything at home. Do you really want to even compensate me? As she spoke, Karina's eyes suddenly turned red and her voice became somewhat choked. But since her father left, she maintained the factory and developed a strong personality that forced her to control her emotions, just taking a deep breath. I don't ask you for any solution, but at least don't go to that damn casino these days. There's really nothing at home to pay off gambling debts. She turned her head as she spoke, not letting Enzo see the dimness in her eyes, but Enzo still noticed her clenching her fist. As for the matter of raw materials, are you really going to agree to the scumbag's conditions of the Cap family? The last sentence was spoken softly, but Enzo heard it and frowned. The original owner of this body is really nothing, not to mention everything from pornography, gambling, and drugs. Even my younger sister cannot be protected. Enzo let out a faint sigh in secret, grabbed Karina who wanted to leave, raised his head, and looked at her with a serious expression. Karina, thank you so much for all these years. As he spoke, he reluctantly pulled his stunned sister into his arms, stroking her slightly trembling shoulders like a startled deer, and whispered. But don't worry about the problem in 3 days anymore, the problem with the raw materials has been solved. 5 minutes later, Karina widened her eyes and looked at the neatly stacked dozens of cotton in her warehouse, tears streaming down her face as she looked at her brother who seemed to have changed. And Enzo looked at his sister with a gentle expression on his face, declaring once again. From now on, all suffering has come to an end. Embracing his sister who could no longer control her emotions, Enzo gently stroked her hair while his eyes looked towards the direction of the stars. Everything, there's me. Chapter 3 Wow. Golden Legend. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Ads by Google equals window. Ads by Google. Push, perhaps it was because she felt the change in her brother, or perhaps it was because after so many years, she finally had someone to rely on. Karina relaxed a bit and had more young girl's agility. Even Enzo enjoyed a dinner that the original owner had never enjoyed before. A bit of mashed potatoes, paired with a small piece of grilled grox meat with a little black pepper, and 2 fried silly eggs. Which Enzo brought back from the land of phantoms. There's even a cup of black coffee. To be honest, the food in the Warhammer universe is not as dark as Enzo had imagined before he crossed over. He is eating normally now. At least there is no legendary corpse flour, and the taste of grox meat is similar to that of pork combined with beef. Actually, this is almost our last grain storage. If we don't make any more income, we will have to eat miscellaneous grains and bread in the future. Karina looked at the empty plate and then at her brother, with a hint of worry and fear in her eyes. The miscellaneous grain, bread. It can't be made from corpse flour, can it? Enzo's body trembled when he heard Karina's words, and he drank the coffee in his cup in one breath, feeling energized all over. Catch the phantom beast. Brush the materials. Improve the phantom beast factory. I definitely don't want to eat that kind of ghost thing. So, after helping Karina clean up the mess, Enzo once again threw himself into the world of Warcraft. Ding, welcome the host to enter the Phantom Beast continent, indicating information updates. Prophecy message. At the edge of the initial platform, 2 angry forest mammoths are engaging in battle. Please be careful to avoid them. Forest mammoth. Enzo was taken aback for a moment. He had an impression of this name. In the system's provided guidebook, it was a very advanced phantom beast, and its abilities in logging, mining, and planting were all second level. If we catch a forest mammoth, we won't have to worry about our mines and wood at home. Thinking about it, Enzo's heart was burning, and he grabbed the dozen or so pet balls that had already been prepared on the workbench and rushed towards the direction indicated by the system. After about an hour of rapid progress, he finally saw the forest mammoth at the edge of the initial plateau, at the border with the giant beast forest, which was already both defeated but still very oppressive like 2 small mountains. Enzo tried his best to slow down his breathing, lowered his body, and lurked over. Taking advantage of the fact that the fighting forest mammoth did not notice, he quickly threw out 2 phantom beast balls. Ping! Ping! Watching the progress bar of the arrest flicker, Enzo held his breath. 0.01%. Boom! Boom! Damn it! The success rate of catching the beginner ball is too low. Enzo let out a low curse, not discouraged. He had anticipated this situation, so while rolling and avoiding the wind blade skill of the forest mammoth, he threw 2 phantom beast balls again. So, after a fierce battle, there were very few of his pet balls left. 0.01%. Boom! Boom! Damn it! Enzo couldn't help but spit out a national curse and pulled out 2 beast balls again, ready to roll and throw the ball again, but suddenly froze in place. I'm running out of energy. Roar! Seemingly angered by this weak human, the 2 forest mammoths had blood-red eyes and roared, using their exclusive skill. Earthquake. Done. Enzo let out a bitter smile, and in an instant, his eyes turned black. You dead. 2 crimson English words appeared before my eyes, and 5 seconds later, Enzo was teleported to the base. This is a big loss. Not only did we not catch the forest mammoth, but we also wasted more than 10 phantom beast balls in vain. Enzo shook his head with a bitter smile, and suddenly, a somewhat urgent prompt sound from the system rang in his ear. Drip. Emergency message. A rare phantom beast has appeared 200 meters southeast of the host. Rare phantom beasts. Enzo Teng stood up and rushed towards the southeast without stopping. Rare phantom beasts are extremely rare in the phantom beast continent, even rarer than some bosses. There may not be one among thousands or even hundreds of phantom beasts. And this kind of phantom beast comes with a very powerful golden entry. Rare, plus 30% attack, plus 30% work speed. From afar, Enzo caught a glimpse of the pink big-headed cat, which shone with golden light and was twice the size of a normal phantom beast. Cowardly cat. Although it's a low-level phantom beast, as a rare phantom beast, its potential is still very good. Enzo's eyes were as kind as stars, and he had already grabbed a low-quality pistol in his hand. He was also ready to release a phantom beast to help him fight. The timid cat not far away was still walking unconsciously, with a slightly red font on its head. LV.11. I should be able to handle this level. Enzo silently calculated that unlike in his previous life, summoning beasts to help him fight had many limitations, such as only being able to summon one at a time and carrying only 5 beasts. In this land of beasts, he can summon all the beasts he has captured and help him fight. Come out. Cowardly cat, stupid chicken, cotton yo-yo. Half an hour later, Enzo, whose health had bottomed out and all the phantom beasts were seriously injured, lay in the base with a smile on his face, watching the rare and timid cat shining with golden starlight in the system phantom beast warehouse. The tide is turning. This timid cat even brought 2 other golden entries. Enzo looked at his big brother, his mouth curling up to the sky. Craftsman spirit plus 50% work speed. Fierce plus 40% attack. In this way, this timid little cat is no worse than some phantom beasts, and even in the future, when it can cultivate phantom beasts, it will not be much worse. Moreover, he received more than that. On the system panel, Enzo's level is prominently displayed. LV.9. This is the advantage of surpassing the level of arrest, as his extensive experience is enough to enable him to quickly get through the early stages. Plus the technology points for upgrading rewards high-quality workbench, pet ball making table, repair table, farm, pet device making table, logging yard, quarry, crusher, original stove, high-quality pistol, high-quality single-handed sword, inferior rifle. Enzo spared no expense in squandering technology, and the branches of the technology tree were slowly illuminated. Finally, after completing all the necessary technologies for the current stage, Enzo summoned his great boss and packed everything for the temporary base. It's time to go to the giant beast forest and mine. My first base, my first phantom factory, will be built there. Brother. The next afternoon, Karina searched around and finally found Enzo, who had been missing all morning and was frantically stuffing fried eggs into her mouth, in the kitchen. So Karina, is it swollen? Enzo chewed on the egg and spoke vaguely. Karina's face was a bit pale, and her voice trembled. The people who rushed the goods yesterday have come again. Enzo was stunned for a moment, picked up his coffee and took a sip. He lowered the contents of his mouth and frowned. The Taoist Chamber of Commerce should not be such a dishonest business, as it only waited for 1 day after announcing delivery in 3 days. Enzo's eyes flickered and he shook his head slightly. But this technique is also too inferior, the Capet family. Is that all you need? First, cut off their material sources, and then collude with the Taoist Chamber of Commerce, step by step, in order to let Enzo Einhold die. Or, to put it another way, make the Einhold family disappear. Why is this? As an old aristocrat on the planet Colosso, why did the Capet family have a grudge against Enzo Einhold's family? Enzo's brow furrowed deeper and deeper, and there were blurry areas in the original owner's memory. He had only been here for less than 2 days, and it was also difficult to find any clues. Also, as a large chamber of commerce operating in the interstellar region, why would the Taoist Chamber of Commerce collude with a decaying aristocrat on a planet to plan an ordinary family? Enzo remained silent, countless speculations flashed through his mind and were eliminated one by one. Brother. At this moment, Karina's call interrupted his thoughts. She had red circles around her eyes and was pulling at the corner of her clothes in confusion. It's okay, Karina. Enzo smiled gently, touched his sister's head, and said with great certainty. Believe me, we will solve this difficulty. As he spoke, he pulled his sister and decided to meet those unwelcome guests. Not only that, we will have a beautiful future. Enzo Einhold wears 200 yards of fabric. In the hall, Cassio spoke coldly to Enzo as he walked towards him, his mechanical arm slightly gripping him, and his eyes flickered with red light. Enzo was not intimidated by his imposing demeanor, but with a calm smile, he exchanged greetings like an old friend. Ha ha ha. Boss Cassio, did you drink too much yesterday after going back? There are still 3 days left. Why did you come today? Don't make any boring jokes with me, Einhold's garbage. I just want to know where the goods are. Enzo saw Cassio so indifferent, smiled and shook his head. Just as he wanted to say something more, he was pressed against the wall by a cold mechanical hand. Hey, don't be nervous, Cassio. If you really kill me, who will take you to the warehouse to get the fabric? What? Cassio was slightly taken aback, suspecting whether the boy had gone crazy in fear. A few minutes later, Cassio stood at the entrance of the warehouse with a group of people, looking inside at about 50 yards of fabric with furrowed brows. How could that be? I came to see this warehouse yesterday and it's so clean that even mice don't want to visit it. Is it possible that Einhold's family has some inventory in the book garden www.zhaoxuan.com? How could it be possible to produce so much cloth out of thin air in a day? Without a night and morning? Did Enzo Einhold make a deal with the evil gods? Should we report it to the governor? Shut up. Cassio interrupted the whispers of his subordinates with a dark face and squinted at Enzo, who was smiling. Even so, the quantity is not enough. Ah, this is indeed a problem. Enzo sighed lightly, but the concern in his tone was slightly false. Fortunately, our factory is operating at full capacity, and a group of hard-working workers are working overtime to catch up. Don't you believe it? Listen carefully. Have you heard the sound of the factory's operation? Everyone listened carefully and looked incredulous. Even Karina, who had always had a slight suspicion of her brother, widened her eyes and looked at Enzo, who was as indifferent as a wise man, in surprise. Cassio's mechanical eyes flickered. Enzo did give him a surprise and made him lose the legitimate reason to kill him. Although the quantity may not be sufficient, discerning people can see that with this efficiency, Enzo's completion of 200 yards of fabric is only a matter of time. He cannot be killed in this situation, he does not want to take the risk, and the Capet family does not want to fall into danger. After all, Enzo Einhold's father still had some military achievements, and the current planetary governor was also a soldier before, so killing descendants of meritorious soldiers without a legitimate reason is still a bit troublesome. Humph. You're lucky, little one. Cassio suddenly smiled, although this smile, combined with his temperament, was somewhat intimidating. He gave Enzo a final glance and waved his hand at his subordinates. Let's go. Chapter 4. Unexpected First Boss Battle. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Ads by Google equals window. Ads by Google. Push. In the cold and dimly lit basement, plain white to somewhat dazzling fabrics were piled up like clouds, making Karina feel like a dream. The palm brushed over the fabric, and the slightly rough texture of the cotton fabric was clearly conveyed to the fingertips. Brother, are these fabrics really produced by our factory? How did you solve the problems of raw materials and employees? As Enzo watched his sister's eyes sparkle like shooting stars, he smiled mysteriously and gestured for her to follow him up and take a look. Buzz, buzz, buzz. Amidst the roar of the machines, Enzo pushed open the door of the factory building, and a strange and inexplicably coordinated scene appeared in front of 15-year-old Karina. On the gray-black wall, there are red banners hanging with oversized fonts written on them. The most abundant thing in the Phantom Beast continent is Phantom Beasts. If you don't do it, there will be plenty of Phantom Beasts to do it. Reflection, progress, and strive to prove that you are a valuable beast to Lord Enzo. Setting aside individual animal interests, strive for the construction of a new era of galactic industrialization. Phantom beasts only need to remember 3 things. Loyalty. Loyalty. Or something special. Loyalty. Under the blazing white light, a group of timid cats wearing pale blue work clothes and oversized safety helmets are humming a tune and working overtime happily. This is Alien. Karina suddenly exclaimed in surprise, instinctively grabbing Enzo's hand and about to hide behind him. Ha ha ha, it's okay. These are all the new employees I recruited. Look, aren't they quite cute? Enzo comforted his sister. He had long guessed that this would happen. After all, in an empire that prioritizes race and sees all other races as enemies, creatures like phantom beasts, which are similar in form to other beasts, are enough to cause panic. With the comfort of my own brother, and the fact that there is indeed a significant difference in appearance between the phantom beasts and the exotic beasts upon closer inspection, compared to the ferocious and ugly appearance of the exotic beasts, the phantom beasts are simply harmless pets for humans and animals. How big? Come here. Upon hearing the owner's call, a rare and timid cat, one circle larger than the other cats and wearing a safety helmet as big as a bathtub, approached and, at Enzo's signal, lowered its head to coquettish Karina. Ha, this big cat is so cute. Brother, where did you get them from? Karina's beautiful big eyes turned into crescent moons as she touched the timid cat's head and asked. Enzo chuckled a few times and laughed heartily, saying, "It's not easy to explain to you now. Just know that these phantom beasts are not traded with any evil gods, and in the future, I will recruit more phantom beasts. You don't have to worry about the factory anymore, and you can even let them do household chores." Karina listened to Enzo chattering on some precautions to herself, her eyes becoming softer and even filled with admiration. Although she is only 15 years old, her mind has quickly matured after her parents left, and she is not so easy to fool. Actually, when Enzo said she would solve these problems yesterday, she still didn't believe it. After all, Enzo had also deliberately disguised himself as a good brother before, using the excuse of changing his ways to gain her trust and demand money to pay off gambling debts and drug use. But when Enzo turned impossible things into possibilities, and even now he has truly solved the crisis, what makes Karina even more incredible is that, Enzo, really gave them a future. Even if the future is uncertain, even if this beautiful scene is just a dream and a bubble. Moreover, Karina confirmed through her own perception that Enzo had indeed accomplished all of this through some unknown method, rather than through trading with the evil god. This made her feel a hint of mystery and awe towards her brother, who had been confused and treated as useless for 10 years. It seems that the brother who shone like the sun when he was a child has really come back. Karina. Karina. Have you heard everything I just said? Looking at his sister's absent-minded, Enzo helplessly called a few times, but saw that the precocious girl who had been serious and dignified in her memory suddenly stuck out her tongue like a naughty girl, showing a shy and sorry look. Enzo let out a sigh of relief and reached out to touch her head. "All right, you can watch them work. Actually, it's okay not to watch. I have something to do and need to go and work for a while." "No problem, I won't bother you if you don't call me." Karina responded with great understanding. Enzo nodded and immediately returned to his room, locked the door, and entered the world of phantom beasts. After a moment of confusion, Enzo had already arrived in the forest where the base was located. The base is located in the giant beast forest, a circular field measuring 100 m x 100 m, approximately the size of 2 standard football fields. Last night, Enzo successfully found the iron ore in the system's predicted information, which was located in the small mountain behind the base. Some phantom beasts were working in the mine. Moreover, after a night and a morning of frenzy, Enzo captured many different types of mythical beasts to fill the gap in the base. For example, the Water Plus would attribute mythical creature Creek Turtle with the ability to plant, water, transport, and collect. A Fire attribute mythical beast with the ability to forge, transport, and even function as a flamethrower, known as the Fire Fox. Kodak Duck, a water attribute mythical beast with the ability to water, transport, and perform manual operations. The Earth attribute mythical beast, the human-faced ape, possesses the abilities of planting, collecting, manual operations, logging, and pharmaceuticals, as well as considerable intelligence. Finally, there is also a slightly larger physique than a horse, which looks majestic and extraordinary, and has a good speed, making it very suitable as a non-attribute illusion beast, the wolf, for early mounts. In addition, because the number of phantom beasts that can be allocated to the base is limited by his own level to only 30, Zhong Enzo spent one night carefully allocating functions, forming a primary industrial system that is capable of self-operation. On the production stage of Phantom Beast Balls, batches of intermediate-level Phantom Beast Balls are produced. In the mine, there is a brave little cat constantly storing batches of iron ore in the warehouse, while the fox is melting and forging the iron ore into iron ingots in front of the furnace. Watching the thriving scene in the base, Enzo nodded with great satisfaction and called for Big Brother. He rode on to Wolf 1 and went to the fortress ruins predicted by the system. 2 days later, he stepped on a few points to prepare for the boss battle and the tide of dragon-type phantom beasts. On the way, Enzo also caught some new varieties of phantom beasts, greatly enriching his phantom beast warehouse. His level was successfully raised to LV11, which can unlock more technology and arrange more phantom beasts to participate in work. Unconsciously, at night, Enzo caught many dark attribute mythical beasts, the cat-bat monster. These mythical beasts not only have the abilities of second-level mining, second-level manual operation, and transportation, but also have strong combat power. Most importantly, as a dark attribute phantom beast, the cat-bat monster doesn't need to sleep at night. What kind of immortal tool person is this? It's simply the boss's favorite employee. Boss N was nibbling on jam and bread, sitting by the campfire to rest with great satisfaction. At the same time, he didn't forget to open the system map and see how far he had walked today. This phantom beast continent seems larger than I imagined. It's almost early morning, isn't it? I only explored 3.5 areas. On the system map, approximately 1/10 of the map corner is displayed, while the other areas are in an invisible black mist. Enzo has discovered map blocks including the initial plateau, the giant beast forest, fortress ruins, and the misty hills where he is currently located. Different blocks have clear boundaries and mark the distribution of various resources and beasts, with 1 or 2 teleportation points within these blocks, making it convenient for Enzo to teleport directly from the base terminal during his next exploration. The speed of the wolf is about 60 km per hour. Excluding the necessary time for replenishing water and eating, I walked about 500 km after leaving the base. Of course, from the map, I walked around a lot, but roughly estimated. Enzo silently calculated, somewhat incredulous. So, isn't the phantom continent about the size of Asia on Earth? When will I explore it? Ow! Suddenly, the wolf resting nearby suddenly woke up and put on an attacking posture, howling as a warning. But it was still a bit late. At the moment of hearing the warning from the wolf, Enzo had already felt the eerie feeling of cold and hot coming from behind. Damn it! What's going on here? Enzo gritted his teeth and awkwardly climbed up from the haystack. Even with the protection of his metal armor, his health bar was visibly reduced by 3 points, and the durability of his armor also slipped off. And in front of him, the culprit was facing him directly, with a humanized mockery on his face. This phantom beast is snow-white all over, with 9 tails, resembling auspicious signs from the sky. Its purple-red eyes are tinged with a hint of evil. Enzo's pupils trembled, and he whispered in an incredulous tone. This is 9-tailed fox. At this point, the familiar system prompt has just sounded. Drip, encounter boss. Fairy shrouded in green mist. 9-tailed fox LV 25 foot. A high boss level has been detected, please be cautious with the host. Nonsense, can I not know? Enzo quickly rolled his eyes and narrowly avoided the fox-fire of the nine-tailed fox. With a flick of his hand, he threw a ball of phantom beasts. In the night sky, a flash of light flashed through, and the golden, big guy, the black-purple bat-wing cat-bat monster, and a bunch of miscellaneous phantom beasts all rushed forward with all their heads. Enzo finally had time to catch his breath, quickly took out a few healing potions and poured them into himself. My body is still too weak. If I continue like this, in the later stages, the stronger phantom beast will be slapped to death by me. Do you really want me to do genetic modification? Drip, special reminder, if the host tames a boss-level phantom beast for the first time, they will receive a reward of Spiritual Talent Awakening Potion Formula. Spirituality. Enzo exclaimed in surprise, his eyes initially filled with disbelief, and then ignited a wildfire like frenzy. Spirituality, the extraordinary power unique to the Warhammer world, according to existing theories, originates from the subspace that represents all nothingness and illusory things, contrary to the material universe. That is a power that ordinary people cannot imagine or understand. Zhaoshuyuan.com, a powerful psychic who can destroy planets and shuttle through subspaces. Through the connection between spirituality and subspace, humans are able to pilot starships to shuttle through subspace, thus traveling between various galaxies in the Milky Way in a very short amount of time. This magical power can even be used in technology to develop unimaginable psychic black technology. It can be said that in this universe, psychic energy is almost omnipotent, and subspace is ubiquitous. However, in addition to the immense gift of spiritual power, the subspace also has unimaginable disasters. Once the most powerful psychic among humans, the ruler of the empire, now revered as a god emperor, conquered hundreds of trillions of stars with his unparalleled spiritual power and black technology, surpassing the Milky Way. That was an unimaginable golden age, with humanity standing on the top of the Milky Way and the world filled with light and hope. However, the chaotic evil gods born from the strong emotions of living beings in the subspace have pushed the Milky Way into hell. Human beings draw spiritual energy from the subspace and are also contaminated by the chaotic evil gods in the subspace due to this process. So, there was endless desire, a destructive plague, inevitable conspiracies, and infinite war and destruction. So, the glorious empire collapsed from the top, and the emperor carried a beacon of hope with his remaining body, sitting on the golden throne for thousands of years. However, in order to become stronger and survive, humans still have to rely on spiritual energy and pursue spiritual energy. This is why Enzo initially wanted genetic modification without considering spiritual power. Of course, his lack of awakened spiritual talent is also a very important reason. But now, Enzo will definitely not miss this opportunity to become stronger. So Enzo showed his blade towards the roaring nine-tailed fox. Chapter 5. The Long Night. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Ads by Google equals window. Ads by Google. Push, Kroso Star, the center of Peck City. In the city center forged by cold iron, surrounded by countless factories emitting exhaust gases at all times, there is a magnificent castle-like building isolated by spiritual shields. The entire castle adopts the iconic Gothic style of the Empire, but is surrounded by a large area of green plants, including precious varieties transplanted from other planets. Here, it is the estate of the Capet family, a noble family that has lasted for thousands of years on the planet Kroso. In this quiet late night, the ruler of the Capet family, Conde Ras Capet, did not go to bed early as usual. On weekdays, the arrogant Cassio was standing respectfully by the side, adding blood like wine to Condras while recounting the unexpected events of the day. Are you saying that Enzo from the Einhold family? I don't know how to get the raw materials and workers, and really made 200 yards of fabric. We haven't made enough 200 yards yet, but it should be done quickly. Although there are no more machinery in the Einhold family's factory now, if it's only 200 yards of fabric, as long as there are raw materials and workers, it's not a problem to rush it out. Upon hearing Cassio's explanation, Kandras nodded and drank the liquid from his glass without any change in expression. However, a slight wave stirred in his heart. Enzo Einhold. How did this kid actually do it? He got up from the soft sofa, carried his glass to the French window, and looked at the silent night. For most people on the planet Kroso, the darkness of this city is filled with unknowns. Cultists who believe in evil gods, spiritual beings infected by chaos, and seeds of disease, plague, and death take root and sprout in hidden corners. Countless pairs of eyes greedily gaze at this place, constantly wanting to turn it into their paradise. But for Condelas Capet, who stands at the top of the planet Kroso, this darkness is as clear and visible as lighting a fire in the daytime. With the power of the Capet family, as long as they do not violate the interests of the planet governor and the laws of the empire, they can control most of the things on this planet. In other words, how did Enzo Einhold transform 200 yards of fabric under his nose when monopolizing materials, prohibiting workers from applying, and even cutting off all possibilities of receiving assistance? Did the Tattooist Chamber of Commerce provide assistance? It's impossible. Enzo couldn't come up with any chips to impress them, let alone the impact of the subspace storm during this period, and all interstellar voyages couldn't proceed. The raw materials needed by the Tattooist Chamber of Commerce were still provided by me. Condelas Capet's eyes flickered with a cold light, and his thoughts churned in his mind. In this situation, aid beyond Kroso is also impossible. Could it be that a traitor has emerged from the Caption family? He secretly helped the young boy from the Einhold family. Thinking of this, Condelas Capet's eyes narrowed slightly, and he couldn't help but think of his own son who had long coveted the beauty of Karina Einhold. He could have done such a thing for the sake of this desire. Father. Suddenly, accompanied by an urgent shout, the object that Condelas Capet was speculating about burst in. What's going on? I heard that the plan to kill Enzo Einhold was not successful. What the hell is that? How could that useless person turn over? Father. We should. Pop. The crisp sound of a slap echoed on the ceiling, and Rhodes Capet looked at his father with an incredulous expression on his face. Soon, he suddenly realized his violation, trembling all over and lowering his head. A glimmer of disappointment flashed in Condelas Capet's eyes. His youngest son was really terrible, and this kind of mentality was truly embarrassing. With a helpless sigh, he said seriously to Rhodes. In the Empire, all games of power must follow the rules, let alone Enzo Einhold, who is a descendant of a warrior with outstanding achievements. We will kill him, but we cannot make it too obvious. Yes. Rhodes nodded respectfully, afraid to speak any longer, but a hint of imperceptible ferocity flashed in his eyes. Condelas Capet shook his head in disappointment. His son was surprisingly foolish. But precisely because of this, he also ruled out the possibility of an insider. So, there's only one possibility left. He turned his head slightly and said to Cassio on the side. After returning, you should carefully pay attention to whether there are any abnormal people entering or exiting the Einhold family, or whether Enzo Einhold's behavior and thoughts are abnormal, such as sudden homicism, excessive desire, etc. If these situations occur, report them immediately. He paused slightly, his tone somewhat cold. I suspect that Enzo Einhold may have made a deal with some evil gods in the subspace. Understood. Cassio answered and then withdrew very wisely. After explaining, Condelas Capet glanced at Rhodes, who had been silent all along, and sternly warned. As for you, you are not allowed to go out these days. It's time to collect tithes soon, and the Asian space storm is not a good omen. Don't cause trouble for me. Rhodes responded in a muffled voice and lowered his head to retreat. Condelas Capet stood in place, sighed helplessly, turned around, and looked at the smoke isolated outside the psychic shield, unsure of what he was thinking. And in another place shrouded in smoke, the misty hills of the Phantom Continent, Enzo's face was even worse than the soles of his shoes. Just now, he had used up all the beast balls on his body, but still couldn't catch the boss nine-tailed fox. Not only that, his health has already bottomed out at this time, and the durability of his defense equipment has also returned to zero. Beside him, only How to Air barely stood there, relying on the rare and other golden entry bonuses. Other phantom beasts had already exhausted their health under the suppression of level and rank, and were forcibly taken into the Phantom Beast warehouse by the system. Although the nine-tailed fox's health has also bottomed out on the opposite side, Enzo's first boss capture has been declared a failure. Enzo's eyes flashed with a look of unwillingness, and without any hesitation, he lifted his pistol and fired a bullet. Beside him, How to Air flew forward and helped Enzo block the last Jianhu Yohua of the nine-tailed fox. His health instantly bottomed out, but in the last second, he fired an elemental energy bullet that also cleared the last trace of the nine-tailed fox's health. There's nothing we can do, we can't catch it. We can only kill some explosive materials and gain some experience. Enzo sighed as he watched the nine-tailed fox slowly fall to the ground, its body the size of an off-road vehicle slowly turning into green mist and disappearing. There was even a hint of mockery in his eyes, which were not fully closed yet. Damn it! Am I doing too badly here? Even a fox mocks me. Enzo complained roast, but he could only accept the imperfect result by pinching his nose. After all, my level is too low, so I didn't have time to unlock a higher level and higher probability of capturing the Phantom Beast Ball. Moreover, due to their own level limitations, the level of the Phantom Beasts is not high. The level at which they can fight the most is LV.11, just like themselves. The level difference between them and the boss is too large. However, it can also be considered a fruitful harvest. Enzo walked to the place where the nine-tailed fox had disappeared and picked up the materials that had fallen from the ground. Obtain Intermediate Phantom Beast Soul X3. Obtain the nine-tailed fox's claw X3. Obtain the fur of the nine-tailed fox by 10. Obtain Linglong Heart X1. Obtain Strange Fragrance Gland X1. Listening to the continuous broadcast of the system, and then seeing that he had risen to the level of LV.13, Enzo's face softened a lot. The participating mythical beasts have also increased their levels quite a bit, and the actual level of Big Brother has already reached LV.18. Enzo was a bit puzzled. Last time he crossed levels to arrest How to Air, he had raised it by 6 levels, but this time it was only 2 levels. Didi, warm reminder. Only by successfully capturing the beast can you gain a lot of experience. The experience gained by killing the beast will be greatly reduced. It seems like hearing Enzo's doubts, the system gave a very thoughtful prompt, but it made Enzo, who had just experienced failure, feel even more unhappy. At this moment, you're still sprinkling salt on my wound. Is this system sincere? Enzo shook his head and looked at the system time. It was already around 3 a.m. The busy afternoon of exploring the map, coupled with high-intensity battles with the boss, had already exhausted him. My wolf sacrificed in the battle just now, it's so damn. The closest teleportation point to me here needs to be about 10 or 20 kilometers, right? How can I go back? Enzo was worried when he suddenly lowered his head and saw his pistol. A good idea came to his mind. Bang! You dead? Enzo's eyes darkened, and he opened them again. He was lying in the base, while a human-faced ape looked at him with a complex expression on its face. Shit! Without hesitation, Enzo gave 3 times the order to work to all the phantom beasts through the base terminal. So, watching all the phantom beasts busy without touching the ground, his own phantom beast factory was thriving. Enzo boss nodded in satisfaction and left the Phantom Beast continent. Finally you can have a good night's sleep. Returning to his own room, Enzo pounced on the bed like a dead fish, and the next second, his beautiful wish to sleep a full night was mercilessly interrupted by Karina. Dudu. Brother. Wake up, there's a guest coming. Guest. Enzo crawled out of his comfort zone with an angry expression, as if he wanted to eat someone. Damn it, what other ghostly guests are coming in the middle of the night? Shouldn't it be that Cassio has returned again? It's so ghostly. Disturbing my dream, the management must let him. Please come in. 3 minutes later, Enzo kindly opened the door for the guests, with a warm smile on his face. In just a few minutes, he was already dressed neatly, and with his original face, he appeared somewhat handsome. Compared to the beauty who visited late at night, he still appeared like a country bumpkin. Under the night, a stunning face with a hint of silver radiance, like an angel's holy and flawless eyes with a hint of sadness. However, the sadness was hidden under the brim of the hat, like the luxurious yet low-key black long dress shrouded in hazy mist, adding a mysterious veil to the nobility and sanctity, as if isolating the world, making people unable to help but feel longing. FIA, why are you coming to our house at this time? In the slightly rudimentary reception hall, Enzo smiled and brewed a cup of coffee for FIA, as well as a triple concentration for himself. In fact, it was already great for him to stand here. But who would let this be the former owner of this body, the admirer and childhood sweetheart of Enzo who has already passed away? Even if you don't have much feelings for her, you still need to have an attitude, otherwise you will appear too strange. I heard that you are facing difficulties and have been wanting to see if you can be of any help, but that guy from Caxiu has been controlling the vicinity of your factory. So, I only found the opportunity to come in tonight. Enzo listened quietly, while also silently examining FIA's beautiful face. Even though he had read countless people online in his past life, Enzo couldn't help but admire that this could be a divine creation. If it weren't for the Warhammer world full of disasters, he might have fallen in love with the beautiful girl in front of him. It seemed to have noticed Enzo's gaze, and FIA's pretty face turned red, her words a bit flustered. So. The purpose of my visit today is to ask if you need any help from me. Thank you very much for your kindness. FIA, you have always been so kind and considerate, but... Enzo shook his head and smiled, sat on the sofa near FIA, took a sip of coffee, and continued. I have already solved it. Chapter 6. A busy night. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. De co lois ara trong quatrin lay text. Chapter 7. Compassion in the Same Disease. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Ads by Google equals window. Ads by Google. Push, under the night, smoke from countless factories still envelopes the city, with streets crisscrossing and some even passing through buildings like a steel jungle. Walking in this dark and gloomy jungle inevitably makes one feel oppressed and unhappy. But in fact, this is a normal sight for trillions of planets controlled by the Empire, and even for Croso, located in the central star domain of the Empire. The Sun-Star domain, such a scene can even be considered a depression. As Croso, located in the central solar region of the Empire, the city surprisingly maintains this highly inefficient and ancient layout. This is also something Enzo feels puzzled and grateful for. Because in empires, wealthy planets with large populations usually establish settlements called nest cities. Nest city is actually a city with an unimaginable scale, covering the entire planet. The city, made entirely of rocks, concrete, and diamonds, can even extend upwards from the top of the planet. Each nest has a population of over 1 billion, and countless factories work tirelessly all night to produce resources for the Empire, contribute population, and be loyal. That is the throne of the strong, and also the hell of everyone. Tower tip, upper nest, and lower nest. The insurmountable classes are all darkness and despair. The chaos of the low nest pollutes the soul, the difficulty of descending the nest torments the body, the hypocrisy of Shangqiao is nauseating. The power of the nest drives the soul insane. But to be honest, as a rebirth traveler, Enzo would still be very interested in taking a look there if given the opportunity. But now, he doesn't have that opportunity, let alone that interest. Because FIA ultimately did not allow Enzo to succeed, at her strong request, Enzo had to compromise and choose to send her home. On the dim street, Enzo and FIA walked one behind the other. At the back, wrapped in a wide cloak and armor, Haudaer carried the butler Abelek and followed behind very wisely. Cough. Speaking of which, when did that guy Fritz start pestering you? Seeing the atmosphere around him somewhat solemn, Enzo casually picked up a topic. FIA looked up at him, fell silent for a moment, and said. It's longer than you think. What does it mean? Enzo was momentarily taken aback, then saw FIA lift her head and lift her hair behind her ear, with a slightly gloomy smile on her face. In fact, when we were in our teens. Before you even became that hopeless, Fritz, or the Capet family behind him, had already set their sights on me. FIA Alfaro's bright moon-like eyes looked at Enzo, and the profound meaning in them made Enzo's heart sink. By calculation, your family may have been implicated by our Alfaro family. If your father hadn't helped us back then and hadn't been involved in the Capet family's struggle against the Alfaro family, perhaps you would have had a happy life. FIA suddenly quickened her pace and walked up to Enzo, speaking in a desolate and self-deprecating tone. Do you know, Enzo, I came to see you today not only because I have liked you before, but also because we are actually people who share the same illness. Upon hearing FIA's words I've liked you before, Enzo felt his heart skip a beat. Or pause for a few seconds, leaving his brain blank. When he regained consciousness and wanted to ask further questions, FIA's words interrupted him. Do you know that everything you have experienced now, isolation, coercion, deception, inducement, all of these have been experienced by the Alfaro family, and I have experienced them all. Enzo fell silent. He understood what FIA meant, and even FIA spoke lightly. As a local aristocrat who has maintained Crosso for hundreds of years, the Alfaro family has not encountered such a simple situation. Betrayal, slander, threats, and even military struggle, in order to bring the Alfaro family down to the abyss. The methods of the Capet family are far more cruel and despairing than dealing with his Enzo. That must be a tough day. Enzo sighed and looked at FIA, expressing sympathy and respect for this girl who was only in her 20s. This girl is stronger than he imagined, even stronger than him. After all, she has the golden finger of the system, while she only has herself. Yeah. FIA turned around, although the topic was so heavy, she smiled at Enzo like an innocent girl. But I still made it through, didn't I? Even though the Alfaro family no longer exists, the former glory has been buried in the ruins. But there are still more sacred pearls left in the world than stars, untainted by fine dust, enough to catch the attention of the world. So, Fritz's crime is unforgivable. If I had known earlier, I would have killed him. Enzo chuckled and shook his head, seeming to be joking, but FIA knew he was serious. A warm current flowed through her heart, making FIA, who talked about these sad past events, not so low. However, she shook her head gently to Enzo and said very seriously. Fritz is just a chess piece, a bully who wields power. What you should really pay attention to is the Capet family behind him. Enzo nodded. Of course he knew, but chopping Fritz to vent his anger was not a big deal. Moreover, I feel that there is more than just the shadow of the Capet family behind this. FIA frowned as she spoke, and Enzo paused for a moment before quickly understanding her meaning. The Alfaro family, which has been passed down for 100 years, can be regarded as the local leader of the planet Crosso. Even after the Imperial Army conquered this place, they did not forcibly erase this family until the governor of the planet took office, but only suppressed and incorporated it. But the outside Capet family, in just over a decade, forced the Alfaro family to the brink of extinction. Now, there is only a small estate and a small pharmacy left. The Capet family, which is not particularly famous in the empire, cannot achieve this, and behind it lies a larger shadow. Capet's targeting of our family should not be as simple as being held accountable by the Capet family after their father helped the Alfaro family. Enzo pondered silently, because in his view, although his father's help at the time was a timely help, it posed almost no threat to the plans of the Capet family. According to the original owner's memory, the time they started laying out for me should have been earlier than that. Enzo took a deep breath and found that the water inside was deeper than he had thought. Also, did my father really die? Enzo rubbed his temples and hadn't slept for almost a day and a night. Thinking about all this, he felt like his head was about to explode. Don't think too much, you have already done very well. Seemingly aware of his worries and exhaustion, Fia smiled slightly and gently said to him. No matter what we may face in the future, at least. We must live well now. Enzo paused for a moment, then burst into laughter. Yes, in the Purgatory galaxy of the Warhammer universe, the most important thing is, live on. Alright, that's my house up ahead. Just deliver it here, you should go back too. After walking for a while, Fia suddenly stopped and turned to look at Enzo with a smile. Although exhausted, Enzo still caught the imperceptible panic and urge from Fia's eyes. It seems that he doesn't want to go to Alfaro's small estate. Enzo frowned slightly and looked towards the direction of Fia's house in the front. I don't know how long I've been walking, but the fog that hangs over the city has dissipated a lot. A hazy dawn shines through countless water vapor and dust floating in the air, illuminating the edges of the city. And in the sunlit streets and the shadows of tall buildings, Enzo seemed to vaguely see a shop with the Alfaro family emblem hanging. Old, but with a faint glimpse of past glory. The once huge golden font now reveals a dim corner, reminding the people in this city of the Alfaro family's once widespread pharmaceutical business in the Star region, which was the last honor of the former nobility. But now there seems to be some noise there, appearing so abrupt in the quiet morning. So Enzo looked at the beautiful and powerful girl and responded late to her previous sentence. Aren't you saying we are people who share the same illness? As intimate and friendly patients, how can I watch you continue to face everything alone? So, Fia saw a hand extend out very forcefully, inexplicably gripping her own hand like when she was a child. Let's go, you're not alone this time, and you won't be alone in the future. Enzo blinked at her and smiled very gracefully. Fia paused for a moment, almost crying, but soon she showed a relaxed and cheerful smile. For over a decade, when she faced everything alone, she sometimes imagined that today would happen. Unfortunately, the shining youth who used to stand in front of her and solve everything when she was a child had already fallen after illness. But now, he has really come back. Fia suddenly felt a bit exhausted and wanted to go back to her room and cry a lot. She went to the book garden www.zhaoshuyuan.com and then took a nap. Isn't it true that Fia Alfaro will be back soon? It's been all night, why haven't you seen anyone? In front of the pharmacy, a woman with heavy makeup and a plump snow-white almost popping out of the few annoying fabrics frowned and asked the people around her. A group of rough men with tattoos on their bodies, wearing strange and wild leather clothes, with many metal jewelry inlaid on their skin. Look at me, I look at you, shaking their heads in confusion. The woman rolled her eyes, but in the afterglow, she finally saw the figure she had been waiting for so long. Oh, little slut, you even brought a man back. With a malicious smile, the woman greeted a group of people and welcomed Enzo and Fia. Who is that man? Is she good looking? She looks thin and weak, so she should be easy to bully. The woman gently covered her mouth to prevent herself from showing an overly arrogant smile. He, how are you going to humiliate her today? How about starting with her boyfriend? Many people here like this delicate and tender young person. What kind of humiliating expression would she show when she looks at this scene? Or would she get angry and lose her composure? Oh. It's really exciting to think about it. The woman thought, her body trembling slightly, almost unable to conceal the smile at the corner of her mouth. But the next second, all her imagination came to an abrupt end, including the footsteps of her and the dozen or so people around her. In Gain's sight, a terrifying beast slowly emerged from the mist and stood beside the man, bowing its head respectfully. "Speed up, I'm in a hurry to go back and catch up on my sleep." Enzo yawned, a bit careless, and even disappointed that there were only so few people across from him. Chapter 8. A Thriving Career. You are listening at novelfull.audio. This translator is experiencing an error, please try another translator. Chapter 9. Spiritual Talent Awakening Potion Recipe. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Ads by Google equals window. Ads by Google. Push, good morning, Karina. Hey, brother, didn't you stay busy all night last night? Karina arrived at the restaurant and was surprised to see Enzo being full of energy and even making a sumptuous breakfast with great interest. Well, always take a break. Enzo nodded. Just a few days after crossing over, he didn't want to die suddenly from staying up late. So, after catching enough sleeping demons last night, he also had a good night's sleep. Sigh. Can't the system add a fatigue blocking function, which would slow down my work efficiency too much? Enzo sighed in his heart. Of course, this was just a joke. As a boss and an excellent pet trainer, as long as your pet beasts don't rest, that's all. Enzo was drinking coffee when he suddenly remembered something and asked Karina. By the way, Karina, haven't anyone been harassing the factory during this time? Have the scouting beasts reported the whereabouts of suspicious people around them? I don't think so. The surroundings around our house have been quite peaceful these past few days. Yesterday, while you were sleeping, Uncle Frank and Ms. Ariel from next door also came to visit us. They were quite worried about us, but a few days ago, because the group of people from Casio were still watching, they couldn't come over. By the way, Ms. Ariel even brought us something. Perhaps because Enzo has recently regained responsibility, Karina's state has relaxed a lot, and Enzo has opened up her conversation box, chattering away daily trivia like a normal little girl. Enzo smiled on the surface, but his heart sank. He finally realized that something had gone wrong since he returned yesterday. Too calm and somewhat eerie. What I did yesterday, venting is one aspect, but there is also another intention, beat the grass to scare the snake and attract attention. However, yesterday he disabled the Cap family's henchman and hit Rhodes's woman. After a day, there was no response from there. Enzo gave a soft click, feeling a bit unhappy that the plan was not successful, while also becoming more vigilant about the Capet family. Today, Kashi is coming to pick up the goods. Are you going to surprise me again at that time? Enzo pondered silently and made a plan in his mind. The siblings had breakfast, and Enzo took a walk around the factory with Karina, who was in a good mood. During this time, Enzo did not notice any suspicious people or things, and everything was calm. The Capet family seemed to have given up on dealing with them, as if they had returned to normal life. How could it be? In the Purgatory Galaxy where either you die or I die, even children know the principle of eradicating the root cause. Enzo wisely abandoned this unrealistic idea, straightened her mind, and instructed Karina to be busy with something and not come back until the afternoon. At the same time, he kept the big one and protected Karina, which also played a role in contacting Enzo when necessary. As for how to contact, it's very simple. Enzo gave it the command. When encountering trouble, immediately put himself on the brink of death, so Enzo can see that it with a golden star shining in his pet list has problems and can rush back immediately. After explaining everything, Enzo looked at the system panel and several lines of text were highlighted. Prophecy message. In 3 hours and 34 minutes, there will be a dragon-type phantom beast passing by near the fortress ruins. Prophecy message. In 5 hours and 18 minutes, the base will encounter a wave of small beast tide. Time is almost up, it's time to go and prepare. Enzo returned to his room, locked the door, and entered the world of phantom beasts. After a moment of confusion, the familiar scenery of the world of beasts appeared before me. The base is still so busy, and last night before bedtime, many items instructed to be made by the phantom beast lay quietly on the workbench, waiting for him to collect them. At the edge of the base, there was also a circle of defense fortifications where phantom beasts rushed to work on the building overnight. Along the rough walls made of stone and iron, rifles and ammunition boxes were scattered. This is not for Enzo himself, but for those phantom beasts with weak combat abilities. When the base is attacked, the phantom beasts will consciously shoulder the task of guarding the base and repelling the attackers. Of course, Enzo definitely won't be able to use them when he's here, it's just to prevent himself from being destroyed by the beast tide by catching the boss and leaving behind as a backup measure. Of course, Enzo's main focus yesterday was not on this particular thing. Putting away the intermediate beast balls and more than 20 advanced beast balls crafted from existing resources, Enzo casually took out a collar with a very simple design. It looks no different from a regular collar, only a dark pink gemstone is embedded in the buckle of the collar. Like a hazy night, like a dream that refuses to wake up. This thing is wasting a lot of my time. Enzo sighed as he had used up all the inventory of pet balls in the base yesterday. Of course, the results are also gratifying. Enzo clicked on the system panel and placed the collar in the special equipment tray. Immediately, the collar appeared on his left wrist, becoming a wristband. This is my first team. The Phantom Beast Legion. Enzo smiled and whispered, while following his will, the dark pink gemstone of the bracelet emitted a faint light. So, a phantom beast wandering in the dream was summoned and suspended around Enzo. Mayamo is about half a person tall, with a dark, misty skin and a cute face with a slightly sinister smile. On her head, there is a purple cloud-like substance that seems to be hair spreading down, interspersed with a bright star-like light, seemingly hanging a beautiful dream on it. Just like in fairy tales, elves who shuttle through human dreams and specialize in collecting dreams. But if we believe that they are harmless to humans and animals, then we are completely wrong. As a member of the very capable dark magic beasts, Maymo's combat power is outstanding among low-level magic beasts. Moreover, Enzo has more than just a sleeping demon. Over the base, nearly 100 sleeping demons floated quietly in the air, waiting for their master's command. I hope that boss can withstand the attack of my Phantom Beast Legion for 10 minutes. Enzo nodded with satisfaction and led the army of May demons to the fortress ruins area through the base terminal. After determining the position provided by the system, Enzo rode the wolf and rushed with the May demons. It seems like you came early. Arriving at the location, there was an empty space on a small hill. Enzo glanced at the time indicated by the system and found that there was still about an hour before the boss arrived. So, bored, he leaned in and grabbed a sleeping demon to play and pass the time. Ding, attention. Dragon-type boss has appeared. The sound system prompted Enzo, who was impatiently waiting, to perk up. He stood up and looked around, quickly discovering a figure walking with small steps in the nearby forest. Is this a boss? The blue and white color scheme is like a small snake, but with a plump, soft and cute body, coupled with a twisted big tail, short hands, and ears for exhaling fans, as well as innocent big eyes. Enzo wiped his eyes incredulously, unable to believe that such a cute phantom beast could be a boss or the most aggressive and powerful dragon type. However, the huge and ferocious boss emblem on its head, the Ice Spirit Dancer, Swirl Itachi, and the level far exceeding itself, reaching LV.18, all made him have to believe this absurd fact. This boss doesn't seem like Mienyo can beat it yet. After a moment of silence, Enzo released half of the summoning state of the sleeping demon, leaving only half. There's no other reason, he's afraid that the sleeping demons might accidentally kill this guy. It's not that he's pitiful for this cute and explosive swirl weasel, but that he doesn't want to miss out on the upcoming Soul Talent Awakening potion recipe again. Well, shouldn't the Maimau Legion just give it a second? Enzo was a bit hesitant, but soon he still led the Dream Demon Legion out of the hiding place. Hey, stop! Enzo held his arms and shouted at the Swift Weasel. Oh whoa! On the other side, the Swift Weasel, leisurely taking small steps, was clearly jumped off. Its ears swung suddenly, and its hind feet propped up on the ground, standing up obediently. Its big eyes were full of surprise and doubt. Mad, how do you feel like I'm like a villainous big boss? Enzo could not help but murmur a word, then without any hesitation, he raised the pistol and pulled the trigger at the skunk. Bang! pH.5. Although not even scraping can be considered, Enzo was very successful in drawing hatred, and the Swirl Weasel also demonstrated the attacking power of dragon-type mythical beasts. A few arrows condensed from Frost shot towards Enzo. In just an instant, the ice arrow was right in front of him, but Enzo remained calm. He is too familiar with this. Damn it, wake up your spiritual power quickly. I've really had enough of these days of rolling on the ground and fighting bosses. Scrolling and dodging the attack in embarrassment, Enzo spat out the sand and stones from his mouth. Looking up, there was ice blue energy condensed in the mouth of the Swirlwind Weasel. Skill. Frost exhales. Enzo was raving in his heart, but his body kept rolling and dodging his skills. Of course, the Maimau Legion is not a vegetarian either. In just a few minutes, the health bar of the Swirlwind Weasel has decreased by a quarter. However, Enzo also discovered a flaw in the Maimau Legion. Because it will not be attacked, on the other hand, it will never lead to hatred. When Enzo was fighting against the Phantom Beast with Howdair, due to his high attack power, Enzo only needed to pull hatred once, and Howdair would take the hatred over. But now Enzo had to roll from head to toe, and even wanted to unleash the hatred of other Phantom Beasts. Because the hatred caused by the attack of the entire Dream Demon Legion will be concentrated here, In Enzo's roast and national scolding, the battle for lack of chin soon ended. Moreover, perhaps the system noticed that he was rolling very hard, and the probability of catching him this time has increased. Last time, he couldn't catch the nine-tailed fox boss even after using up all the Phantom Beast balls. This time, Enzo just tried to throw a high-level Phantom Beast ball and found the result on Shuyuan www.zhaoshuyuan.com, ping, 5%. 7%. 99%. 100%. I'll go, stinky system. Are you playing with me? Watching the capture progress from 7% to 100%, Enzo was speechless and only wanted to curse, but the interface that popped up next quickly turned him into a smiling face. Ding! Congratulations to the host for capturing the Phantom Beast for the first time and receiving a reward of Spiritual Talent Awakening Potion Formula. Although there was only one reward, Enzo was very satisfied. He had been craving this thing for a long time. It seems like other potions have been unlocked. Let me take a look. Strength potions, mental potions, constitution potions. None of these can be used. Right. Enzo looked at it and suddenly had a bad premonition. So, he took out the Spiritual Awakening Potion recipe he had just received from his backpack, opened the ancient and mysterious parchment, and read it carefully. Materials that need to be collected by the host in the Phantom Beast continent. Intermediate Phantom Beast Soul X20, Low-Level Phantom Beast Soul X30, Dragon-Type Phantom Beast Brain Marrow Fluid X15, Condensed Spirit Power X5, Sublimated Spirit Power X5, Linglong Heart X5, Earth Heart Flame X5, Life Water X 100 ml, Dragon Blood X 200 ml. Materials that need to be collected by the host in the main universe. Mortal Souls, Extraordinary Seeds, Chaotic Crystals, Divine Blessings. Usage Conditions. 1. Achieve LV20. 2. Each attribute should not be less than 200, friendly reminder. The average value of the host's current attributes is 100.67. 3. It is necessary to build a barrier with refined gold. 4. You must use the Spiritual Talent Awakening Potion in the subspace. Enzo. Chapter 10. Naked Raids. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Ads by Google equals window. Ads by Google. Push. After petrifying in place for 2 minutes, Enzo expressionlessly put the Spiritual Awakening Potion recipe into his backpack and swept the battlefield with a gloomy face. Host level increased to LV16. Obtain Intermediate Phantom Beast Soul X3. Obtain the Teeth of the Swirl Weasel by 3. Obtain Dragon Type Phantom Beast Heart X1. Obtain Frost Crystal X1. Obtain Condensed Spiritual Power by 2. Looking at a series of system prompts, Enzo couldn't be happy and simply committed suicide and returned to the base with a numb expression, silently waiting for the arrival of the small beast tide. In a state of boredom, Enzo checked the attributes of the Swirl Weasel and did not surprise him. This cute little boss is a mythical beast with dragon attributes and ice attributes. The ability is very average, only very ordinary, handling, plus a relatively decent, cooling. Combat ability. Can only be said to be passable, after all, it can also be considered a dragon attribute phantom beast, and its combat power is still slightly inferior to its rare and timid cat. How'd I err? Isn't this a shame of pure dragon lineage? Enzo shook his head, and in a flash, he saw something remarkable in the introduction of the Swirl Weasel. The Swirl Weasel is a mythical creature that inhabits the edge of the Eternal Snow Plain, advanced region, on the continent of phantoms. Occasionally, lost swirl weasels come to the vicinity of fortress ruins. They can curl up and spin at an extremely fast speed. People who once lived on the continent of phantoms often put milk jars on swirl weasels to make delicious ice cream. Ice cream. As a member of the great foodie empire in his past life, Enzo was very truthful and focused all his attention on the last 3 words. Then, he eagerly released the swirl weasel and found a large jar half a person tall, filled with milk from the boba bowl. After closing the lid, he let the swirl weasel hold it and unleash his spinning ability. Jishuan Itachi gave him a resentful glance, and then, under the lewd influence of Boss Enzo, he began making ice cream. 5 minutes later. It's great. Enzo, holding a half-human tall jar, lay on the recliner that the phantom beasts had designed for him. He leaned against the cold and soft whirlwind weasel and leisurely commanded the Demon Legion and a group of phantom beasts to repel the beast tide. Quickly, after Enzo had just eaten half of the ice cream, the few remaining phantom beasts scattered and fled, leaving behind a pile of phantom animal corpses. Obtain a low-level Phantom Beast Soul X13. Obtain the Wolf's Teeth X8. Obtain the Human-Faced Ape's Hair by 15. Obtain Cotton Yo-Yo's Meat X21. The Phantom Beasts cleaned the battlefield with great dedication, and at the same time, the system's prompt sound also sounded. Ding, indicating that the information has been refreshed. Indicative information. In the underground city of Foggy Hills, there are abundant mineral resources, as well as rare minerals and organic matter. Prophecy message. In 26 hours and 38 minutes, the boss of the Misty Hills, the Nine-Tailed Fox, will be reborn again. Prophecy message. In the Maple Forest Highland, there is a legendary mythical beast that was born from hell and feeds on dragons. Glancing at the refreshing foreshadowing information, Enzo couldn't arouse any interest now. Looking at the warehouse full of materials, my level has also been elevated to LV18. But there is still a long way to go before being able to create a spiritual talent awakening potion and meet the usage conditions. He still breathed a sigh of displeasure and then added a lot of work to the beasts, feeling much better. Returning to his room, it was already evening, and Enzo lay on his bed, looking out the window in confusion. Sigh. The spiritual talent awakening potion formula requires so many materials and the conditions are so strict. When can I awaken my spiritual power? Just as he was worried, there was suddenly a knock on the door. Brother, Cassio and the others are here to pick up the goods. Enzo's eyes suddenly brightened up. To be honest, he really hoped that Cassio and the others were intentionally coming to cause trouble. In this way, he can take the opportunity to beat them up and at least make himself feel better. However, 5 minutes later, more than 20 of Kashi's subordinates loaded 200 yards of cloth onto the car, while Kashi expressionlessly pulled out the supply note. Sign. Ah. Oh, oh. Is that enough? Well, don't be too proud too early, Enzo. It's almost time to collect tithes, and I hope you have enough assets to pay tithes. Cassio gave Enzo a cold glance and left with his men. Isn't this right? It's just that simple. Enzo frowned, his eyes somewhat confused. The next second, a crisp system prompt sound came on, making him show a genuine smile. Ding, foreshadowing message. In 6 hours and 39 minutes, the factory will be attacked. It's an interesting idea to show off my vigilance openly and launch a surprise attack when I'm not on guard. But the surprise attack. Enzo couldn't help but smile at the corner of his mouth. With the help of the system, their upcoming surprise attack and beheading were no different. At that time, should I directly greet the phantom beasts and stand shoulder to shoulder, or do I give them a little bit of participation? After thinking about the surprise attackers infiltrating for a while, Enzo couldn't help but whistle joyfully, ready to make some ice cream and eat it when he saw the wonderful expression on his fully armed Phantom Beast Legion's face. I don't know if the Caption family will come or not. Rhodes Caption, that guy won't be able to sit still, will he? At the same time, in a suburban estate of the Capet family, Enzo's murmuring Rhodes Capet heard the servant's announcement and got up from the tender maid. He hurriedly walked out of the room and towards the lobby. In the lobby, Fritz stood leaning against a pillar, his entire head almost covered in bandages, revealing only one bloodshot eye. Dressed in exquisite clothes that didn't match his temperament, his arms were covered in thick plaster, his legs were still trembling, and he could even barely stand with a mechanical exoskeleton. Master Rhodes. Seeing Rhodes rushing over, Fritz took a step forward with some excitement, almost failing to stand firm. Well, are you ready for everything I've assigned you? Ready. Hey. Coincidentally, the Emperor is here. Enzo, that useless person is really damn this time. Speaking of the name Enzo, Fritz's eyes were filled with resentment, but also with excitement of impending revenge. Oh. What do you mean, did you find a very powerful mercenary? Yes, Master Rhodes, due to the recent subspace storm, the mercenaries who were already hidden in the dark and unable to return due to missions outside cannot come back. But coincidentally, yesterday I spared no effort to investigate and found a group of powerful mercenaries from outside. Fritz reported while not forgetting to invite himself for credit. Rhodes gave him an appreciative look at the right time, while also urging him to continue. I heard from other mercenaries that this group of people should have come from the Misty Star realm. I even observed them in secret, and some of them even had a bit of a chaotic aura. Although they were not contaminated by chaos, they looked like fierce characters. The leader's physical fitness was considered abnormal. Fritz became more and more excited as he spoke, even disregarding his injuries and dancing a little. Master Rhodes, Enzo's useless person has no chance of turning over this time, and I have already told you that the Karina you are interested in will definitely be brought back unscathed. Ha ha ha, good. Well done, Fritz. Rhodes was momentarily shocked to hear that he had recruited mercenaries from the Misty Star realm. The 5 major star domains of the Empire, except for the Central Sun domain, the other 4 major star domains of Taiping, Obscure, Far East, and Storm are battlefields, and wars break out almost every day. And among them, the most valued and also the most threatening subspace fisher to the Empire, inhabited by countless chaotic creatures and the eye of fear of countless fallen beings in chaos, is also located there. The ability of mercenaries who can walk in it is undoubtedly beyond doubt, but are you sure those crazy people are reliable? Also, have you dealt with them thoroughly? Our actions cannot be detected by my father, nor can they be detected by the Empire. Don't worry, young Master Rhodes. Don't worry about my affairs. Fritz, of course, knew Rhodes' concerns. As an imperial aristocrat. Although one of the lowest classes, being associated with chaos was enough to make the Caption family disappear from this universe. An imperceptible light flashed in Rhodes' eyes, and soon he enthusiastically embraced Fritz's shoulder, saying, "Oh, my most trusted brother, it would be great to have you help me with the facts. Someone, help me Fritz brothers to the reception hall, find the book garden www.zhaozuiyuan.com, and bring me a bottle of good wine from the cellar. We need to celebrate tonight." He smiled at Fritz, who was somewhat flattered, and continued. "Once Enzo is resolved, I will bring you the woman from the Alfaro family. I already know you've been thinking about her body for a long time." After listening, Fritz's eyes suddenly lit up with a flame, and he even shook off the maid who was coming to help him. "Lord Rhodes, let's drink the wine later. I can't wait to personally go and unscrew Enzo's useless head." Rhodes was slightly taken aback and laughed heartily. "Of course. My good brother, I'm waiting for you to come back and celebrate." Fritz nodded heavily and then walked away quickly amidst Rhodes' approving gaze. At the moment when Fritz's figure disappeared from sight, the smile on Rhodes's face disappeared without a trace. "Follow him, once this matter is settled, take care of him." "Yes." Upon hearing the response coming from an unknown source, Rhodes nodded and walked lightly towards the bedroom. Hex City, a dark and unknown corner, is a paradise for mercenaries, cultists, chaotic forces, and black market merchants. A team is ready to go, full of evil energy, with worn-out equipment covered in solidified black blood. Oza's boss, previously sent a message to the person who entrusted him saying he wanted to come with us. What does that idiot want? A bald man wearing worn-out power armor, over 2 meters tall, wrinkled and pondered for a few seconds before casually shaking his head. "Forget it, it's just about solving a weak chicken. Let him do it, but tell him. Add money."